All right, well, it's another episode of America's Hometown Horror, and my name is Mike. I'm your host. Good evening, and we have a lot to get to tonight, so why don't we get going here. Here's where you can find us on the interwebs if you're interested in those sorts of things. First place is our website, ahpod.com. That's AHHPOD.com. You can find our blog on there. A lot of interesting stuff going on. You can also search for us on YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. Just search for America's Hometown Horror, and you will find us, or you can email us at hometownhorrorpodcast@gmail.com. And I want to mention our two sponsors, first of which is Horror Facts Magazine. You can find them at horrorfacts.com, a great resource for any horror fan for news, reviews, editorials, and lots of horror podcasts, including this one that you're listening to right now. Head on over to horrorfacts.com and you'll find us there. Last but certainly not least, we're now an affiliate of Fangoria, the first name in fright since 1979. So head on over to shop.fangoria.com/hometownhorrorpod, or just use the code hometownhorrorpod at checkout for an exclusive 20% discount on any merchandise or first-time magazine subscriptions. So head on over to Fangoria and support this show by buying yourself some shit. Last but certainly not least, if you want to support us directly, you can head on over to inebriart.com and buy some tickets for the Hometown Haunts and Hops Horror Convention, which will be taking place at Mayflower Brewing Company on October 28th of this year. Yeah, that's what I got for those sorts of things. Now would be as good of a time as any to introduce my fellow co-hosts. Everybody's here tonight. Andrew, Kat, Matt, lady, gentlemen, hello.
Hey.
Hello.
What up?
What's happening? How's everybody doing tonight?
Doing? How are you doing?
We doing?
Everybody doing, I think.
Yeah.
I'm doing what we does.
It's hot, but it's cool
I know.
down here.
Yeah, down here in the
Wicked.
podcast studio. Thank God it's not as hot as the rest of this house.
It's very comfortable.
Yes, it's actually
It's
beautiful.
beautiful down here. This is
Exceptionally.
like perfect. 2 degrees colder, and I would be like, I'm falling asleep immediately.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Wow.
I think you'd
Don't
wake
lower the
up a little
temperature,
bit.
then it's fall asleep.
It sounds like you have very specific requirements for falling asleep,
Not really. Just stuff a bunch of food down my throat.
and then put you in
Then
a cool
pass out.
atmosphere. Yes.
Yeah.
That's
Nice.
good for you.
It's extremely healthy.
That's
Contrary to
Corbett.
popular belief, actually eating a bunch of Taco Bell and going
Yeah.
directly to sleep is very good
And then
for you.
having
All right.
horrendous diarrhea at 4 a.m.
Yeah.
Well, we got a fun movie to talk about tonight. Before we do so, why don't we talk about a couple of news items? First of which, is a sad little piece of news. Rest in peace to Treat Williams
Saw that.
of Deep Rising fame, who played the main character in Deep Rising,
That's your guy.
dead at age 71 as the result of a motorcycle accident in Vermont.
Fucking badass, man.
Going out like a
I guess
fucking
so.
like a boss.
That sucks, though. Yeah, that's sad. But
Yeah.
it was like, I saw the thing and I was like, oh, that's crazy. And then I saw like how I was like, oh, that's crazy.
Yeah.
I was like, holy shit.
How old was he?
71.
Yeah.
71. I mean, I know he was in Deep Rising. He was in a show called Evermore, I think, which was like one of those teen CW shows, I believe, and a few
He's
other
a lot
things.
older than I thought he would have been.
Yeah, I think he's been in a bunch of stuff, but he was never like the lead actor in anything. He was, always like a supporting character.
Yeah, his number one.
He was always a
credit is
treat,
Deep
bro.
Rising.
Deep Rising, baby, a movie that we covered on this podcast. Hell yeah, but rest in peace to Treat Williams, who played, what was his name in Deep Rising, Matt?
John Finnegan.
Finnegan. That's
He was in
right.
Tales from the Crypt, too.
Nice Irish boy.
Crypt Keeper.
No, he was named Howard Prince in an episode from 1992, so that's like season 3.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. Kat, I know that you've neither seen nor know who Treat Williams is. A
No.
piece of news for you. Hocus Pocus 3 is officially on the way to Disney Plus
Geez.
with Anne Fletcher, who directed Hocus Pocus 2, returning to direct. So apparently they're going to wheel Bette Midler and everybody else in for one more sequel to Hocus Pocus.
Don't you think this would make sense if they had like children and they like were
Yeah,
turned into
right? I
children
mean, I feel
becoming the
like
witches?
They do a prequel,
Yeah.
maybe?
Yeah, prequel when we
They
were little
made
girls.
too much money on the remake to not make another one. Is
No,
exactly
that's not a
what it
thing.
is.
I mean, that is a thing.
How is that
It's
not
called,
a thing?
it's called greed. It's
Yeah.
called Disney
Yes,
greed.
Absolutely.
fucking
Like
stupid.
that, they could have left it.
The House
where
of Mouse.
They don't need to make another one. They made that one, and that one was.
Well,
good
apparently they're
enough. Like,
talking about not only
Just
the,
Mickey Mouse.
the
This is
third,
gonna
the
just get
third
worse.
one,
But imagine it's a Mickey
some
Mouse
spin-offs.
Bette Midler in a fucking wheelbarrow.
Yeah, right. Oh my God. Yeah, but apparently there's going to be a third one, and then maybe the director Anne Fletcher talked about the article that I saw today doing some spin-offs I don't know what those would entail. Maybe some of the other side characters from the second movie, who I don't remember any of them. I don't remember any of them at all.
No.
They should do a crossover of Hocus Pocus with Sarah Michelle Gellar's, or not Sarah Michelle Gellar, Sarah Jessica Parker's
Parker.
character, Sex and the City.
Oh, that'd actually be.
God,
See, that I would
funny.
watch. All I remember about Hocus Pocus 2 was Bette Midler and Kathy Najimy farting in a CVS. That was all I really remember. That was the only part that actually stood out to me. Everything else was lame. But are you excited about Hocus Pocus 3?
That was like security cam footage that got leaked.
Yeah.
It wasn't even supposed to be in the movie.
No, it was part of the plot. She farted in CVS. Or one of them did. I don't know. So that's cool. Are you
Sounds
excited
alright.
for Hocus Pocus 3? Are you
Yeah,
over
I
it?
mean, I don't know. I feel indifferent, I guess.
No Bette Midler.
I don't think they need it. I think they should have just left
Right.
it. They
Yeah,
did
at
the
one,
remake and
yeah.
just it's over. Like
Yeah.
they don't need to keep going. Like there's no more to this that needs to be done.
Apparently there is.
What do you think about Beetlejuice 2?
I think that's interesting because that's in the same realm of they're gonna redo Beetlejuice.
But they're
now.
not redoing it, they're just doing a sequel.
Right. But
Yeah.
I mean I think there's enough time that's passed because that's almost kind of close to when Hocus
So,
Pocus was actually out.
Has there ever been a
Hocus Pocus was 93. Beetlejuice was 87.
Yeah, it was in
So
the
I mean,
80s.
kind of close. And now they did a remake. Beetlejuice is doing the same thing. Hopefully, that's a little. I have higher hopes for that than I had for the Hocus.
I have
Pocus
way
remake.
higher hopes for Beetlejuice 2 than I do for Hocus Pocus 2.
Is Jenna
Yeah.
Ortega's in it?
Well, I don't even really. I mean, I know everyone's like,
Michael
in
Keaton's
love with
in it,
her
too.
now,
Winona
but
Ryder.
it's still got Winona
Yes. I
Ryder,
think
still got
that's gonna
Michael
be
Keaton.
awesome.
Apparently, Tim Burton is returning to direct for whatever that's worth. I mean, he hasn't really directed a great movie in a
I think-
long time.
I think
One
that'll be
sequel
good.
That was better. That was that long. Grizzly 2, The Revenge. It was so fucking stupid. I fucking loved it though. That was
I feel
like
like-
20 something years in between, or longer, 40 years.
Well, I feel like they've been working on this Beetlejuice sequel
For a while. Yeah.
Beetlejuice.
since the original one because there was going to be like Beetlejuice Goes Hawaiian was the original title for the sequel, which Tim Burton was going to return to direct, and it was just going to be Beetlejuice and the whole family again
Beetlejuice on Mass
In Hawaii.
in Hawaii, which could have been interesting. But obviously now you can't have Jeffrey, what's his name? Oh God, the guy that played the dad in the first one.
Yeah, the guy that was the principal. from
Yeah,
Ferris
yeah,
Bueller.
yeah.
Yeah,
Principal.
he's a big
Yep.
old bad guy.
Oh yeah, he
Alec Baldwin's also not a he's a murderer.
no Alec
so-
Baldwin, no Jeffrey, whatever his name is, because Jeffrey, whatever his name is, molested some kids, and Alec Baldwin
Oh.
shot a guy. So,
woman, but yeah.
oh, woman, yes,
Yeah.
exactly, for whatever movie he was in, American Rust or something like that. But yeah, I'm kind of interested to see where they go with Beetlejuice 2. I mean, Michael Keaton's returning to the role of Batman in next
Oh,
week
yeah,
as
The
of this
Flash.
recording.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
forgot
yep,
about that.
kind of. So Michael
Random.
Keaton's apparently willing to
random.
return to his old roles, which I mean,
Now we just need Rick Moranis
Just
to come
have-
back.
Dude, yeah, you know what? That's sad though, because his wife died. And
Yeah.
I'm just bummed out now.
This is true.
yeah.
I hope he just enjoys the rest of his life and has peace and
I just wish he would give us one more Honey, I Shrunk the Neighbors. or
Honey, I
something.
shrunk my penis.
honey, I shit myself.
Honey, I Shrunk my
Sorry.
Penis. She's the whole movie's like, honey, it was already small enough.
She's like, Jesus Christ.
Well, anyway, for more horror-related news, this came out a couple days ago, but an exclusive that so more news on Terrifier 3, basically that it is Cineverse, Bloody Disgusting, and Screambox have acquired the exclusive rights to Terrifier 3, and there is going to be a wide theatrical release planned for this movie.
As there should be.
Which I know that Matt, you and Andrew both saw this movie in theaters, Terrifier 2. I know it was a special thing for you guys. How do you feel about a wide theatrical release for this movie?
I have mixed feelings because I'm excited because that's awesome for the genre, but I'm like worried that they're gonna want it to be kind of dumbed down a little bit. But I think if it wasn't this last episode that we were on or the one before, I talked about how the way horror has been ebbing and flowing and how gore is coming back and all this, that, and the other thing. And I think
It was last week. Yep.
Was it? Okay, yeah. And then I think that they might just be like, you know what? We did the second one, no holds bar, and we just went for it all out. I think they're just gonna do it. I
Oh,
think
yeah.
they're gonna
I
say
think
fuck
so.
it, and they're gonna send it, and they're just gonna be like, let's watch this thing make $100 million.
Which it will, I'm
Yeah.
sure. I was left wondering at the end of the second one, like how they could potentially continue it with that post-credit scene that they had in there. I was like, what is this? And okay.
Yeah, I don't
It
know.
potentially
but
opens up the lore of the story
Yeah,
to new avenues.
From what I understand, he has this whole thing like painted out. He knows all about it and what
Yeah.
he wants to do with the character.
Yeah.
I know, and I've also said this before. If he doesn't do any more, I hope he's fucking trade it
So
and
no
gets
one
all
else
the
can do
rights to it
anything, Yeah.
and calls it a day.
Well, I mean, there was a big article, Bloody Disgusting, about this with Damien Leone,
Yeah.
written by the owner of Bloody Disgusting. So I think that they probably have a good plan in mind for it. See what happens.
TV.
But it will certainly be interesting to see what happens with Terrifier 3. But apparently it's going to be coming our way this October, and we can go see it in theaters if we so choose.
Next October.
Sorry, next October,
Yeah.
not this October. Yeah,
Speaking
October
of this October, though,
2024.
I did see something saying that the new Salem's Lot is supposed to come out this October.
Ooh.
Okay.
After this, yeah, right, yeah, I'll take it for a
Right.
fucking grain of salt.
We'll,
but
we'll see what happens.
Yeah, wasn't that supposed to already have come out
Yeah.
this year?
Like,
they
a
were
year
kind
ago.
of there was a
Oh, yeah.
thing saying based on the success of Evil Dead Rise that was supposed to go to streaming and then ended up being in theaters, another big wad release, massive success, super gory movie. And then I don't know what the issue was initially. I think it had a poor testing with the ending or something about the movie didn't hit with the audiences. So they yanked it, and then there was all this fucking shit going on with Warner Brothers and HBO. I think that was also part of it. And now, from what I understand, I saw a thing the other day saying it's supposed to come out in October.
Okay.
Take it with a grain of salt. I haven't seen any big official releases, but it's being rumored that that's when it's supposed to come out. It's
As long
not
as it comes
completely
out
gone,
and it's
so.
good, that's all I care about because it is my favorite Stephen King story, and I hope it's fucking good. If
Yeah.
it sucks, I'll be heartbroken.
It might suck. Well, you know what? Go in there with a open heart and a
Yeah.
loose butt.
Yeah.
Just,
Open heart and a loose butt.
and just
I like
don't let it hurt.
Just hope nobody has
No,
a. Just hope nobody has any Toll House cookie mixes.
No.
Very nice. Gentlemen, lady, who would like to talk about anything interesting that they've watched over the last week now that we're done with news? Matt, why don't we start with you? You always have some interesting things that you want to talk about.
Yeah, I think I only got one, but I have a couple things that are non-horror. But
Mhm.
I watched Trouble Every Day, which I've talked about before. I know Andrew, you've seen this before, right?
Trouble Every Day. Yes. Yes,
Yeah.
I have seen that.
This is a cool movie. It might be one of the real pioneers of the French extremity genre.
So right up your alley.
Yeah. But it's a little different. It's not as just in your face fucking brutal, but it's very cool. It's almost it's almost like a French David Cronenberg movie.
Yeah. It's actually
Interesting.
It's about a couple that goes on their honeymoon to Paris, but meanwhile, the husband, he's a doctor or a scientist or something, and he had worked with this guy in France before where they were developing this sort of ultimate sexual release. They're doing something about that to achieve the ultimate pleasure, this, that, and the other thing. And it had to involve with completely consuming somebody and literally eating somebody while you're having sex with them. And it's pretty fucking hardcore.
Yeah.
Shit.
Solid movie.
Yeah, no, it's actually an extremely good movie. It's very well acted. It has Beatrice Dahl in it, who is in Inside. That's the movie I almost watched last week. And she's a renowned French actress. So she's the one, basically this doctor that he's trying to find. She's the one that he's been doing the tests on, and he has to keep her locked away in his house because she kind of becomes animalistic and this, that, and the other thing. And so there's a pretty intense scene where these two kids break into the house because they want to see what's going on, and they find her, and she immediately, and they're teenagers, so she immediately seduces one of the kids and just fucking tears him to shreds, and it's wild. I don't want to go any further than that.
Nice.
But it's a very, very, very good movie. It's actually directed by a woman, which is also a notable thing because of how it's extremely bloody. Not just this thing is
Graphic.
drenched in blood. Yeah, it's a graphic movie, but I do definitely recommend it. Of the French extremity movies, Claire Danes, by the way, is the director. Of the French extremity movies, this is probably the most tame and actually highbrow, I would say.
It is highbrow, yeah.
Because it reminded me of the movie The Vanishing too, in terms of tone, just of because it really is it's kind of all over the place. It jumps from timeline to timeline, but I definitely would recommend it. It's a good one if you want to kind of dip your toes and check it out. And like I said, it's got to be one of the first ones. It's 2001.
Yeah, it's
So it's even before, this is before Irreversible.
Before Gaspar Noé.
Well, Gaspar Noé had a movie in the 90s called I Stand Alone, which is very, very, very brutal.
Okay.
But that's almost impossible to find and or stream or watch or anything unless you pirate it online.
Interesting. Okay.
But that was really my only one. Other than that, I've been catching up on comedy stuff.
I think you should leave.
Always Sunny.
Oh,
I think
that's
you
what
should
I was
leave.
asking you.
And pretty much just watching the Red Sox fucking suck. So
Yeah. Well, no surprises there.
but I meant to write my blog this past weekend, but I've been busy with like work things. So I have my third blog coming out.
Well, I've also been meaning to write another blog, so I can fill you there. But with a new opportunity that's been dropped in our lap, I might have some more time in my week to be able to do that. So we shall see. But more on
Still
that
working on my blog.
later. Yeah,
Yeah,
you're still
keep
working
working on it.
Yeah,
It's all
keep
Take
working.
your
all
time because
there.
I know it's going to be so
Keep
good.
working.
It's gonna be
All
great.
here.
I'm sure it'll be epic.
Eventually, you guys are gonna. You
Whenever it
have to
comes
do.
out.
Someone just yell at me until they write it.
You rate it.
Andrew, write your blog.
All right, now I'm
There
on
we
it.
go.
Kat, anything you want to report on that you watched other than the movie that we're going to talk about in a few short minutes?
No.
Okay.
Just, I think you should leave. Maybe I've been watching
wrote
it a
it
lot.
down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's all.
That was my inspiration for my yell at you was I think
pretty
you
good.
should leave. Yes.
Andrew.
Yes. Yeah.
Andrew.
Yeah, I don't,
My chin kills.
I haven't watched much.
No, that's okay. Andrew, what do you got?
I don't think.
I didn't watch shit. I didn't do shit. I didn't. Yeah.
What the?
No, honestly, I
You
watched
didn't
the
watch
movie we're
it?
gonna talk about. I watched the show called The Detroiters, which is another Tim Robinson show because I've been on that kick too. So that show's actually really good. I would check it out.
Yeah.
It's on Paramount.
Okay, fair enough. I also have been watching I Think You Should Leave, and I have been notoriously not really into it for a long time, and I think I'm finally starting to get it and starting to laugh at it a little bit. It's pretty funny. It's pretty goddamn funny, gotta say. I watched a movie on Amazon Prime that I've seen recommended a few different times. It's called All Eyes. And from what I've seen, this is a 2022 movie, but I think it was released to wide audiences this year. So I'm going to count it as a movie for this year.
Yeah.
It was okay. Wasn't great. But essentially the plot for this movie is relevant to this show. There is a guy that hosts a podcast, and at the beginning of the movie, he's talking to some guy that clearly is insane, and it's his second podcast with this person, and this guy proceeds to kill somebody on air on the podcast. So he becomes this disgraced podcast host. He gets kicked off his network. He gets fired from his job, and he's trying to figure out like how to, pick up the pieces of what's happened and move on with his life. He gets a piece of fan mail that says that basically there's this guy out in the middle of, Oklahoma or somewhere in the middle of nowhere in the Midwest. My wife just died. She loved your show. I hate your show, but there's a monster in my woods.
Oh, okay.
I know the movie you're talking about.
what you're talking about.
I've seen the
now,
trailer
yeah.
for that, and I almost watched it.
So basically, here's a check for $25,000. If you want to come out and try and capture proof of this monster and talk to me, come on out. If not, fuck you. I don't care either way, pretty much.
And they just go like crush beers.
Yeah, so the guy goes out, he meets this guy, and some shit happens, and that's a very interesting premise for a movie, but I would say it's deceptive in like what actually happens. You can see the constraints of the budget holding it back a little bit.
So there's no
because-
monster.
I'm not going to say that because I don't want to spoil it, but it's not quite the type of movie that you would think.
I
it
already
is.
know exactly.
Yeah,
what it is.
I've seen it. I've seen it recommended a few different times. I'm pretty sure that Colors of the Dark has recommended it
Yeah.
a few times.
Elric.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Elric
talked
and
about it.
Becca, I'm pretty sure both did. It was decent. It's short. It's like an hour and a half. It's not, a huge commitment. It's interesting. I would say that. So, I mean, if you're looking for something new and interesting, the premise grabbed me. I watched it. And I semi enjoyed myself. That's called All Eyes on Amazon Prime
So it's a
Video.
meh.
Meh.
Cool.
Did you hear of the movie called The Price We Pay with Emil Hirsch and Stephen Dorff?
So yes, they talked about that in a couple podcasts ago, and I did not watch it yet, but I've heard it's actually really good.
I've heard it's similar just in the sense of like you kind of go in thinking it's one thing and then it totally like flips over and it's like out of control something else.
So I actually thought that watching this movie, it was going to be that movie because I remember them talking about that movie on the podcast, but it wasn't.
Might have
So
been the same episode.
I think they probably did talk about both of them. It's actually kind of similar concepts from what I remember, but
Yeah.
I'm gonna watch that one too. I have it on my watch list, but
Me
I have
too.
not watched it.
Yeah, I'll check
Anyway.
that. Let me know when you watch that because then
Yeah.
I'll watch it too and then we can have a good little chat.
Okay, fair enough. I also have been really into a new podcast lately. I know we talked about a couple of horror podcasts last week. This one's called Radio Rental, and this one is I can't even remember the last time I was this into a podcast from the beginning in a long time. So this basically, if I could summarize it in a little bit of time, It's essentially almost like Tales of the Crypt with a host hosting episodes and introducing different segments, but all the stories that take place in these episodes are true. So it's all people telling their true stories of things that they've encountered that are either paranormal or weird or just plain scary. And I think that last statement, just plain scary, differentiates this show from a lot of other paranormal, like scary podcasts out there, because there's a lot of stuff in here that is not just ghost stuff. There are a lot of story. I'm 16 episodes in. There's like 2 or 3 stories per episode. It's all hosted, by the way, by Rainn Wilson, who played Dwight in The Office.
Nice.
So he plays a character that's like very similar to the Crypt Keeper from Tales from the Crypt. But these stories are all true, and some of them are ghost stories, some of them are cryptid stories, but there's a few stories in there that are like people's actual encounters, near miss encounters of being killed by serial killers.
That's hard.
Like actual serial killers, like documented people, and like they have the news footage in there that
Why are
kind of
you
like,
smiling?
I don't understand why you're laughing.
It's not a funny topic.
I'm thinking of something. I'm not even.
Anyway,
It's fine. I'm in my.
it's really, really good. And there have been a few stories that I've listened to in here that have like genuinely frightened me. I remember there was like one. So, you know, I've been working from home a lot with my daughter, and I work down. So not where we are right now in the podcast studio, but there's another room over to my left with another computer, which I work at. And I had my headphones in, my wireless earbuds, and I was sitting at my computer listening to these stories. And I actually, like, at one point had to take my headphones out because I was too scared that I couldn't see behind me the whole time. I had to take them out.
Close the door.
I had to, like,
In the daytime.
Yeah, in the daytime. I was very, very freaky. There's a lot of like real life shit in there that like is very, very scary. And again, it's called Radio Rental. It's not new. It's been out for a couple of years, but I've just recently discovered it. It's like one of those things where I had the first episode in my podcast like queue for a long time. And I finally came across it. I listened to it and I was just like, oh shit, this is fucking great. I'm going to keep going. What the fuck are you laughing at?
You just remind me of, like, you know that Will Ferrell skit when what is it, James Lipton or something, when he's like,
In the actor studio.
so I listened to those. Yes. You reminded me of him when you were just doing this whole thing with the podcast. That's all.
You
I'm
know,
just-
talking on
the
a
way that
podcast when you did that
No, he
thing.
just it's
You remind me of James Lipton.
Saying words, you know, I guess what,
The way that
I
you
was
said
using my
it.
hands to
I
speak.
know.
Fucking Mike's soliloquy over here.
Yeah.
You said that earlier, and I was like, Jesus Christ. Using the word
All right.
soliloquy.
Anyway, it's called Radio
This is kinda
Rental.
funny.
There's about 50 episodes out right now, and
Oh, wow.
I fucking love it. It's great.
Watch it. Listen.
I don't think you can watch
There's
it on
no video,
YouTube. Listen
yeah.
to it. Yeah, listen to it. Honestly,
Sounds
I'm not.
scary.
We talked about
Well,
this
if
a
it's
little
like a podcast, but it's like, well, they don't do that. Like where it was like had like documentary like images and stuff.
So, I mean, it's immensely themed. Like, I would say it's all audio. I haven't come across a YouTube channel for it, but like, it's pretty well themed. Like, there's actually like there's a website for it where. So basically, the whole thing, Radio Rental, is a fake video store that Rainn Wilson's character owns, and like each introduction of the show, he's saying like, "Hey, welcome back to the store. Here's another VHS tape that I'm going to show you," and it leads directly into these stories that are
That's
actually
cool.
true. But like, if you go to the website, like you can see like a fake video tour of the store, and there's actually a number you can call where
That's
you
cool.
get like the voicemail, like for Rainn Wilson's
Did you call
character. I did. I called it. I didn't leave a voicemail, but like it's really
Can
cool.
you leave a voicemail?
You can, absolutely.
Did you panic?
I did because well, basically I think what they're trying to do is they're trying to get people that have these stories
That
to
makes
call
sense to
in
call.
and
You should've just
leave
like,
their stories in the
There was a
voicemail.
monster it came in my door.
But most
Elf
most of
I
these
love
stories,
worms. You should have just said that.
most of these stories are pulled off of like Reddit.
yeah.
So, which I think is honestly like Reddit's one of the best resources to read scary shit. It's so like some of the shit on there is so fucking spooky. It drives me like so it's no wonder that I like this show. So anyway, I
Sounds
can't
good.
recommend this podcast highly enough. If you like true crime, spooky, serial killer, paranormal, cryptid type shit. So yeah, Radio Rental. Check it out.
Yeah,
It's
I'm gonna
fucking
get on
awesome.
that. What does it come on once a week?
So I believe it's weekly, but they also do it in seasons, just like the podcast that we talked about last week, like Spooked and everything else that we talked about.
Yeah, that's the Evolution of Horror one.
But thankfully, like I'm starting from the beginning and just going, from start to finish. So I have like every single episode ever. But if I had to like wait a couple of months between episodes, I'd probably be pretty bummed. So yeah, there it is. That's the one right there. Yep. Radio rental. All right, guys, anything else to report on or laugh about before we, jump into tonight's...
No, James Lipton.
No.
We're good.
I don't think I'm James Lipton, but I appreciate that. All right.
Interesting.
So, with that being said, why don't we pause a quick 90 seconds for a word from our sponsors? We'll be right back.
It's official. The critics' decision is in. Spooky World is spooktacular. Enter the new black hole. If you dare. Or the new horror House of Wax. This year, don't miss the real Jason, Bobby Pickett, or Alice Cooper. Phone the 24-hour Spooky World hotline. 508-838-0200. That's 508-838-0200. Spooky World is just west of Boston and haunts every night from October 1st till November 1st. If you had the nerve, you'd phone 508-838-0200.
It's America's horror theme park, Spooky World.
Don't be scared. I'm the super sweet monster with the super sweet new cereal, Count Chocula.
Biffle, here's the super sweet new cereal, Frankenberry.
But I've got chocolate sweeties for monstrous chocolate flavor.
Well, I've got berry-flavored sweeties for monster strawberry flavor.
Count Chocula.
Frankenberry.
Hi.
Frankenberry.
Count Chocula.
Sleepy Clovers.
Alive! It's alive! It's alive!
The new face of evil is going to scare you to death. Barrett's Haunted Mansion. It's killer this year. Then creep next door to the Abington Ale House. Barrett's Haunted Mansion. Eat, drink, and be scary. Go to bhmansion.com.
And we're back. All right, so that means we're talking about tonight's movie, which is a 2008 movie. By the way, researching this episode, bad year for horror.
What were the other
Poopy.
This was kind of a
sticky.
dead
Get
zone.
there.
Wasn't this a dead zone for horror movies, kind of?
Kind of. I mean, the mid 2000s were actually like kind
We
of
had The Descent.
kind
pretty
of a
brutal.
renaissance.
Yeah.
there was a lot of like really violent horror.
This
true, but they were
year was
fucking-
bad. This year was bad. But this movie, I think, stands out. And we're
Really
talking, of
fun.
course, about The Runes. The Ruins.
Runes.
The Runes. The Runes.
This was, yeah.
This is a movie that I've been excited to talk about for a long time. I'm glad it was my pick and I recommended this. But why don't we start off with 2008 horror? By the way,
Yeah,
Sure, if it's
Let's
that
do that.
bad, yeah.
Okay.
Let's
do
do
it.
it.
Get it out of the way.
So there's a few bangers in here. I have to say. So obviously we have The Ruins,
That's the right one.
which is based on a 2006 novel. More on that in a little bit. Here's a few other movies that came out this particular year. Cloverfield, a movie that I like.
I liked it.
It's okay.
Yeah, I like monster movies, so this is decent. The Day of the Dead remake. Matt, ever seen this?
Ooh, no.
Yeah, no thanks. We also got an actual George Romero movie, Diary of the Dead.
It's okay.
I very much like it.
Yeah.
Yeah? Okay for
It's
you?
okay,
Yeah. All right.
It's. I mean, I have to compare it to his other movies.
True.
You know what I mean? So in
Yeah.
terms of that, yeah, it's fine.
Well, I feel like this one was Romero spoofing the found footage genre,
Yeah.
which was pretty good. I enjoyed it. Eden Lake, which is an underrated horror movie starring Michael Fassbender and Kelly Riley from Yellowstone, which you guys never seen it? No?
I've never seen that. No.
It's supposed to be really fucked up and really good.
sad.
Yeah. So none of us have seen that.
No,
Okay.
that's actually one of the movies that is in my queue for the blog.
Here's a movie that I saw in theaters because I was also enticed by the tagline, the first M. Night Shyamalan Ding Dong R-rated
The
movie.
Happening?
The Happening.
Oh no, the
Which
Happening, dude.
Which
Here we
is
go. Mark
The
Wahlberg.
worst movie I've ever seen in my entire life.
Hey,
Mark
everyone's
Wahlberg
fucking
and
killing
Zoe
themselves.
Deschanel.
It's probably my fault.
No, thank you. Another movie based on a great story that I read growing up because I love Richard Matheson. I Am Legend with Will Smith.
Poo.
Hated this movie.
Dog shit movie.
Yep, terrible.
Is that a horror movie?
Yeah,
Kind
there's,
of.
like
Yeah,
monsters and vampire
technically. Yep.
things in it.
A great movie, Lake Mungo.
Yep.
Yes.
Fantastic.
Fantastic. A great movie, Let the Right One In.
Yeah, that's why I
Mhm.
muttered that.
Andrew, one of your movies, The Midnight Meat Train,
It's a good movie.
with one handsome gentleman, Bradley
Bradley.
Cooper.
Mm.
A Mike movie, The Mummy, Tomb of the Dragon Emperor.
You didn't like that.
The
movie,
last,
did you?
no, it's terrible.
Oh.
The last Mummy movie to star Brendan Fraser as Rick O'Connell. We also got the Prom Night reboot in 2008, but no thank you. We also got a remake of Wreck in 2008 called Quarantine.
I like
with
Quarantine.
American actress. It was okay. Cat, we got Saw 5 in 2008.
I don't even know if I saw that. I probably saw that one maybe once or twice, but I don't really remember it.
And last but certainly not least, we got The Strangers in 2008.
Oh,
That's a
yeah.
great movie.
That's a win.
That's a good one.
So I
Not
actually
too bad.
I included this in here because I thought this is something that maybe I can use in the future going forward. So there is a category on thenumbers.com which separates box office performances for horror movies in a particular year. So for 2008, number one horror movie at the box office was Saw 5, followed by I Am Legend, Prom Night, Quarantine, The Eye, never heard of it. That's a Lionsgate movie, apparently, PG-13. Mirrors, never heard of it. One Missed Call, the Shudder remake with Joshua Jackson, Charlie from Mighty Ducks. The Ruins, the movie that we're talking about right now, finished at number 9.
There's a big one.
At number 10, The Haunting of Molly Hartley. I mean, oh God, Diary of the Dead, number 12. Yeah, good God. I don't
Martyrs.
even know.
I still haven't seen that. I gotta see
Martyrs
that.
is 2008. I actually thought it was 2007 off the
Okay,
top of my head.
I don't even see this on here, but yeah, okay, I'll take it.
Yeah.
Martyrs.
Yeah, that's a fucking brutal one.
All right. Well, yeah, so I mean to say, like, there are a few great movies in there, but overall, not a fantastic year for horror. I mean, Let the Right One In, great. Strangers, great.
Yeah.
I would say Cloverfield and Diary of the Dead, very good. Eden Lake, apparently, I've never seen, but, you know.
I've heard Eden Lake is great. I haven't seen that either. I want to watch it. Martyrs is great, but that's a rough watch. That's not for everybody.
Okay, fair enough. So anyway, the ninth rated or ranked movie in terms of box office success from 2008 was The Ruins, which was a movie that I've been kind of a big fan of for a long time. One that I've kind of been dying to talk about. We haven't really, talked about this type of movie in a long time. And it's a sneaky little gruesome body horror flick.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like this one flies under the radar for sure.
Big time.
Nobody talks about it. I feel like the quote unquote monsters or the villain of this movie, it's a tough thing to make scary, which, I mean, we're not going to go spoiler free for very long here because this movie's been out for 15 years, right?
Yeah. No.
So yeah, go watch this movie. Yeah. But anyway, like the villain of this movie, it's tough to make scary. And while I don't necessarily think that this is a scary movie, I think they do a pretty good job.
It's disturbing.
It's disturbing.
It's a horrifying
They do a
situation.
much better job of making plants scary than M. Night, again, Shyamalan Ding Dong, and The Happening, which, again, the worst movie ever made. But yeah, I mean, what's worse
It's
than
bad.
that? It's very,
I
very
don't know if it's the worst. movie.
Skinamarink was worse, I'm sure.
The Happening is worse than Skinamarink.
Yeah.
I would rather watch the Skinamarink than The Happening.
I'd have to think about that.
Yeah.
I don't know if
Alright.
I'd ever want to watch that.
Fair
I
enough.
don't want to watch either movie ever again.
Well, anyway, so Andrew, for your information, I actually read this book. I didn't listen to an
Read.
audiobook.
I actually saw the actual book.
I actually
so it
owned the
does
physical
have it.
copy of this book right when it came out. And when it came out in 2006, it was kind of all the rage because Stephen King recommended it in his weekly column in Entertainment Weekly. And he said it scared the shit out of him. So I immediately picked up a copy of it. I read it, I think, in like 2 days, loved it. And immediately when the book was out, they said there was going to be a movie adaptation. And I was like, I'm fucking in. So I was at that point, 2006, when I read the book, I was like 20. So I was like, yep, absolutely. The concept of like sentient killer vines, again, tough to sell that. I think one of the things that kind of made me realize that I want to talk about this movie. So I know, listeners, you're not familiar with where I live, but my driveway, very long, very steep, a lot of
Scary
woods. Okay. Every summer, the woods around my house are taken over by these vines, these weeds. They take over trees, bushes, plants, flowers. They're everywhere, and I have to trim them along the driveway several times per summer.
So are you saying you got scared by real life horror?
It actually kind of does. It does bug me because, like, I have thought before of this movie when, like, trimming this shit and thinking to myself, like, what if these things that just devour trees and bushes and everything else that's
after you.
around? Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe
Well,
that's where the guy got the idea.
If you were to die outside and no one ever came and got you, eventually those vines would probably wrap around your body and
Yeah.
consume you.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Whatever it is.
Now, and again, I know before I defer to you guys, I know this is not a perfect movie, but I think it's like, a quick in and out hour and a half horror movie with like an interesting concept, decent actors. Where it falters, though, for me, is the CGI. CGI, you can tell, is a little bit dated. This is a movie made on a $25 million budget that did not return its value, which more on that in a little bit. But
Practical effects.
good little movie.
still
There is
there,
some
though.
practical shit in
Yeah.
there. I mean,
Yeah.
but like you can clearly tell when there's CGI shit happening. I feel like
little things in there.
yeah, absolutely. Like there are certain sections of the movie where you can tell, like, okay, this is like this looks really, really fake. But again, for what it is, this movie's pretty fucking gruesome, pretty awesome. And again, if you're a fan of like gore and body horror, and also, I also thought I can't believe it's taken me this long to mention this. Kat and I have been on vacation to Mexico, specifically Cancun, multiple times, which is where this movie takes place. We've
ever do
been
that.
to
Oh, you did do that. Not bad.
ruins.
I've gone to Cancun since I was 6 years old.
Yeah, we've been to ruins in
Great place to
Mexico
take a 6-year-old.
a couple of different times. So this kind of made me look at that whole scenario differently as well. I had read this book before I went on vacation with Kat for the first time, so I remember thinking about it like when we were going out to visit these ruins.
But
But
you actually went out to like commercialized ones where they have like
correct,
it's not one of
Chichen
those.
Yeah, we went
Itza.
to-
Yeah. Tourist
Yeah.
traps.
Yeah.
Chichen
There's like a-
Itza,
there's
I've
like
been
It's like a
Food truck.
4-hour.
Just get boned on margaritas.
No,
Someone
actually,
drives you back.
there was very little drinking. It was pretty
That's a
much.
shame.
It was like a 4-hour bus ride from Cancun
It's one of the
west.
natural
That
wonders.
sounds awful. 4
Yeah, that
hours
sounds
on a
like
bus.
shit.
And then you're
in Mexico.
walking around these. I mean, they are beautiful. I think it was.
Amazing.
Anywhere to poop on the
They're
bus
one
or
of,
you
they're
just
one of
shit
the,
on the
the
ground?
wonders of the world.
Yeah, it's not one of the
Takes
seven.
4
it's-
hours without taking
It's
a
not.
shit.
It's not one of the
It's
seven
cool.
wonders of
Never
the
know if you're
world.
drinking the
Whatever it
fucking
is.
Whatever the second wonders of the world are. It's not like one of the seven wonders of the
No,
world, but it's
The
after
Hanging
that.
Gardens of Babylon.
It's beautiful though. It's like really, really cool. Like it's a really cool thing to see.
So he calls it chicken pizza.
Chicken pizza. Yeah,
Not chicken
absolutely.
pizza.
So yeah,
Chicken
that's
pizza.
why I picked this movie. I think this movie's pretty goddamn cool. I thought it was fun. I think all you guys enjoyed this movie to a certain degree. So I'll leave it to you, Matt. Why don't you go first?
Sure. Yeah, no, I like this movie. I've seen it a handful of times. I used to own it on DVD. I got it like pretty soon after it came out too, and I had watched it a bunch. It is a good body horror movie. I will say the CGI, I agree, but the way the CGI is used is like when you get those images of like the vines crawling under the skin.
Yeah.
It's effective. It works
It is.
because
Oh,
you're
yeah.
getting, and like it's fucking gross.
It's disgusting.
Yeah, and so
You're too busy like crawling to worry about like the quality of the
Yeah.
things. You're just like, oh my god, that's
but the
absolutely
practical
vile.
effects are still really cool. Just like a rundown, just in case, like it's a group of 4 who meet up with this German guy. They go on a trip to this like off the map ruin in Mexico, like a Mayan ruin. And they get there and they come in contact with the vines that are entangled on the ruin. And immediately the local Mayans are like, absolutely get the fuck out of here. You guys have to climb that now. They kill one of the friends of the German guy, or the Greek guy,
And the kid.
and they kill a kid in this movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I forgot about that when I watched it today. I was like, oh fuck,
my
dude, I
God.
forgot they
It was
like
real
did
quick
that.
too. That guy was like, no.
That's when I texted the group chat. I was like, dude, I forgot how fucking brutal this movie is.
yeah.
But they go up, and basically from there, these vines like infiltrate them, and it turns into a full blown body horror. Any of the scenes with Stacy cutting into herself and pulling vines
Yes.
are
Yeah.
fucking
Brutal.
Like especially when she does it when she thinks they're still in there and she's just like
Yeah.
Dude, she's
her leg is just
mangling
mangled,
herself.
and I'm like, oh my god, you're dead now.
But no, that's the thing. Like, that's one of the good. What I was saying, like the CGI, it's but like it's effective.
Yeah.
And you
Right.
see her like turn around, and she's like cutting into her side, and you see one like that's like a foot long, like squiggling around in her
Yeah.
thigh, and you're like, dude, like this
Ugh.
girl's fucking fucked. Like it's just she's so So it's too late. Like she's gone. The leg breaking scene, and all of that is just insane.
When they lift him onto that like board, I'm like, this is a terrible idea. First off, they broke his back immediately if it wasn't broken already.
Well, that's one of the things that I thought was
worse in the book too.
Yeah. One of the things I did think was funny when it comes into like, because you mentioned like it's not a perfect movie. Like the dialogue writing is like not great.
Yeah.
Because this guy's supposed to be a doctor.
Right.
And like all like the most intelligent
in medical school.
Or in medical school, whatever.
Yeah.
But like the most intelligent things he's saying are like, we're supposed to drink like a half a gallon of water a day. And like everyone's like, oh, like it's like no fucking shit, dude.
And then
like,
guess what? Nobody drinks water at all.
Yeah, and then like he's trying to like lift the dude up on a fucking harness made out of
that's not a good idea.
Poles with a broken back. It's like it's just insane. And then he clearly goes off the rails, cuts the dude's legs off, whatever. But like those scenes are insane. But dude, for me, and it always has been, even before when I was watching it when I was younger, was when the girl like is just taking herself apart trying to get these things out of her, and it's just like, damn, dude, like that level of paranoia and just
pretty
like
brutal.
Self-mutilation and everything. It's just that's horror to me. Like that is real level body horror in my
for a 2008 like popcorn horror movie.
Yeah.
Oof.
Pretty
Popcorn.
impressive.
I couldn't eat.
Well, just in general, that means like that was in theaters. Like
I
it's a
ate
movie
dinner
you could have
while I
gone and
watched this
seen.
movie.
Like,
Did you?
Yeah, I was hungry.
All right.
Wild.
Kat, first time you had seen this movie, right? So what did you
I'll read you my notes.
Yeah, what did you think about the
All
rules?
right, ready? You like my notes? I'm just gonna show you guys before
I see
read them.
5
Okay.
sentences.
Yes.
All right.
Okay.
What are
one
they?
of them.
They're
is
not
a
even
word.
sentences. That's like five.
Well, the first one is just Amy sucks, and then these
does.
Played
people-
by Jenna Malone, who you know from the Hunger Game movies that you like.
Yeah, she's way different in Hunger Games.
Apparently, she's been nominated for a Golden Globe.
She was great in Donnie Darko.
yes.
She wasn't Donnie Darko.
That's right. Oh, I forgot.
I mean,
about
she's
that.
a good actress. She's good. I mean, because she's good at making me hate her, which I think you're supposed
was
to
super
hate
annoying
her.
in this
So
movie.
she sucks. These people are just so stupid
Yeah, I mean, she's playing the character from the book.
in general.
Yeah.
Most of. I mean, that's what that's supposed to be. All these people are just idiots. They're on vacation, but they are like, oh, let's go on. Who would? Never mind. Anyways. The vine went inside her leg, ... growing on them because he's like, oh, this is growing on it, and they had like mold on there, like
That was the other thing.
moss.
That was,
I like
I
what you
didn't
said,
notice that
dot.
until
I
I
like what you
watched
said,
that.
dot.
Yeah, they just have like the moss,
The moss
and mold
growing
on them.
on their
Yeah.
shirts
It's
too.
like,
Not
oh my
even just
God, yeah.
them.
No,
Their
it was on. It
shirts.
was that was weird.
Yeah, they didn't really expand upon that. Which
No.
That was cool.
More on that in a little bit. Yeah, go ahead.
And then when he pulls the vine out of her side,
Yeah.
and like he's just keeps coming out.
Yeah,
and
that
I
was
like,
gross.
oh my
Yeah,
God,
it's
I
like
can't
just
even watch
wriggling
this.
around in his
I
hand.
couldn't watch it. And then Stacy keeps cutting herself. ... And that was just like gruesome.
That's brutal. Her whole like fucking
Yeah, that was
quad
just-
is like pulled open. I was
Yeah.
like, damn,
Yeah,
dude.
gross.
But I mean, as a frequent flyer to Mexico, I would never just go on with
Off-road
a
fucking-
random person I've just met off
Yeah.
of the resort or off of whatever.
Well, you've
site,
seen
just
enough
to
horror
go-
You gotta worry
movies to
about,
know
like,
your
Oh
parts
yeah,
are solid. Yeah, that
absolutely
doesn't
not.
matter.
I mean, yeah, with all the stuff. I mean, yeah. I mean, I love going to Mexico, but I mean, I'm not.
I would be
I'm
like,
not-
why are you talking to me? Go over there.
Playa del Carmen was different than Cancun too. Like that was a little bit more downtown.
Yeah,
Like I
yeah.
mean, there's different parts of Mexico that you can go to. I wouldn't. I don't fuck around in Mexico.
There was
I
a
don't do
part
that.
where Jeff, I think his name is, right?
Jeff.
He's like,
My name's Jeff.
he's like, this doesn't happen. Like 4 Americans don't just
Yeah.
go
Actually,
missing
this
in
does
Mexico.
happen.
And I was
That's
like,
bad. That's bad
"Ooh, that's
writing."
like, actually, yeah, they do.
That happens all the time.
That is a thing.
So
That's happened for a
okay.
long
So
time,
all right,
too.
perfect segue. The book is not written as poorly as this movie.
I bet.
Even though Scott, so basically, this movie is based on a novel by a guy named ScottBSmith, who also wrote the screenplay for this movie. But anyway, so he also wrote the screenplay, or wrote the novel. This is his second and final novel. He hasn't written any novels since this,
Wow.
since 2006. Been a long time. His first novel was a book called A Simple Plan, which was adapted into a movie directed by Sam Raimi, starring Billy Bob Thornton and Bill Paxton.
Yep.
And
I know
Bridget
exactly
Fonda.
what you're
You
talking
seen that
about.
movie? It's a great movie.
Long time ago, yeah.
Billy Bob got nominated for an Oscar for his performance in that movie. It's a really fucked up movie and really, really, really good. But anyway, the biggest difference that I remembered, and I reread about half of this before. I didn't have enough time. I didn't reread the whole thing.
Shame.
Yeah, I know.
Shame.
Sorry. It's
Shame.
about 500 pages. paperback. So, despite the novel being called The Ruins, in the novel,
It's just like a hill, right?
it's a hill.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's no ruins. It's just a hill where there is a hole in the middle of it up top that people are going in to do an archaeological dig.
It's not a Mayan temple.
It's not a
'cause
temple
looks
like it
a
is in the
temple.
movie, which you would think a movie called The Ruins would have some ruins as part of it, which I don't know. I thought that was interesting. And I didn't really remember that from the first time that I had read it. So
Ruins.
the vines in the book. So basically the vines in the movie, right? So they are sentient, right? They're intelligent. They're mimicking voices.
Sentient.
Like they're
a nice
basically
word.
eating people.
But they're like alive. Like
They're alive.
So when they're repeating
Yeah.
the girl yelling,
Yeah.
"Get the fuck off me" or whatever she says,
Fuck.
that's when you're like, damn,
Oh
dude.
shit. Okay.
Yeah.
So in the book, the vines also like secrete this acidic sap. So if you try and rip the vines, it burns your hands almost like an alien. So that either is not I don't think it's explicitly said in the movie either, or it's completely ignored. But that is the reason that the rope breaks when the guy that goes into the mine, the rope breaks and he falls and breaks his back.
Okay.
Also in the book, I know in the movie, Matthias, the German guy, is the one that falls down and breaks his back. In the book, it's one of the Greek guys. And in the book, Matthias, the German guy, is the one that's stabbed in the chest at the end instead of Eric, the American guy. An interesting part of the book that is left out of this movie, and it doesn't ultimately come to fruition, but when they're ultimately up on top of that hill and they can't get off and people are dying, there's talk of cannibalism to survive.
Oh.
Doesn't happen, but
Comes up.
it's an interesting conversation that happens in the book that doesn't necessarily continue,
Well,
show up
in the
movie.
book, had it been like a longer time period that they were up there?
No, I think it was about the same. They're
So
up there. They're up there for like 4 or 5, maybe 5 days.
So it took like the 4th day they started talking about
Yes.
cannibalism.
As the spooky hound dog bombs around the podcast studio. He's been cooped up for a little while. Anyway, finally, so in this, and maybe the biggest difference between the book and the movie is that Stacy, not Amy, is the final girl, but nobody survives.
Wait a minute. Stacy's the one that cuts herself.
Right. So,
She's the final girl?
yep, at the end of the book, she is the final girl. Everybody else dies. And she opts to, instead of staying hostage on top of this hill, she decides to kill herself and she slits her wrists and dies.
So she still cut all the stuff out of herself. The whole.
Nope. No,
Oh,
that's
okay.
Amy.
Okay.
Amy. So basically, the Amy
So
and
watching
Stacy
this movie,
roles are
Amy
reversed.
should have been the first one to die because she fucking sucked.
Yes.
She was the worst. So why was she the
yes.
last person alive?
No idea.
Yeah,
Made
she
no
did not
sense.
deserve to be the
Probably
final
because
But
she,
they
was
made-
the
they made some
probably 'cause she was the
choices
biggest
for the film.
name.
Well, when
maybe.
she was
Yeah,
driving.
Jenna Malone is a bigger actor than
Stacy.
Whatever.
Laura Ramsey, I believe, is who played
Yeah.
Stacy.
Although Stacy had
the only
nicer
other
boobs.
credits.
Look at that.
Yes, I know you commented on that quite frequently.
Obviously.
The only other thing that I saw for Stacy, Laura Ramsey, the actress that played Stacy, was that she was in an episode of Mad Men where she had sex with Don Draper with
Nice.
John Hamm. So
She just likes to get nude.
yeah, apparently.
Well, you do see when Amy's leaving, you see the thing like squiggle like in her face.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
She was fucked either way.
But the book does end ultimately the same as the movie, with the remaining Greek tourists
yeah.
showing up along with some other like Brazilian tourists that they got to come with them.
Right.
So that's how the book ends, and the movie ends the same way.
But by then, all their bodies will be gone because the vines would have taken them.
Correct. Yeah. So they'll
So they would
never
have
know.
no
It's
idea.
a continuous
yeah.
cycle of death and
Yeah, by the time you discover
plants
it's too
eating
late.
people. It's
The
kind
whole
of
the
very
whole
strange.
thing with I don't have service up here, but there's a cell phone down in the archaeological dig.
Well, the
Well,
plants.
bringing-
this didn't work.
the
Well,
plants
it
were-
had to
That
have rung,
is fucked.
but so
Like,
it had
there's
to have
no
rung
way.
once
Well,
for them to mimic that
in the
sound.
movie,
sure.
so Matthias did say that he had a world phone,
He
like a
was full of
satellite.
shit, though.
a satellite
I feel like he was
phone.
lying. No,
I don't know.
No, but his brother had the
necessarily.
same phone, so
Right.
that phone
that's
worked.
true. Yeah,
But
And the guy
it
took
just
it.
was too late before.
that was one of my favorite parts
Yeah.
when they were down there.
Because the
and
girl, that dead girl or guy,
That was cool.
flower was
holding
ringing.
the
That was like,
phone.
oh shit,
Right.
you guys
Yeah.
are like, imagine seeing that. You're like, time to fucking go, and you're trapped down there. Fuck,
Yeah.
sucks.
That was one of the few things that, like, okay, like you're sending the girls down there. Yep, actually, that makes
And you get
sense
down
because they probably can't lift the guys up. Okay, that makes sense from an actual perspective. When they're down there, that was very, very creepy.
Yeah,
Okay,
Yeah.
but when they're down, like said a
Creepiest
loophole
part of the
when
movie.
when she went down there to rescue what's his face. They didn't get the phone. They went back up, and then they heard the phone again, and then they went back down. I'm like, wouldn't you think that they would look for the phone while they were down there?
They didn't have light
She didn't have any light. Well, no, because
because they made the
threw her
torches
matches.
later. Yeah, but what are you gonna do with matches? Like,
Yeah, but
for
she
two
Also,
relit-
the guy,
she
the
relit her
guy's dying,
thing.
so maybe they forgot.
Which they didn't have those.
Maybe
then. They
that's
made
the only
those.
thing.
Oh,
I
the
mean,
first time.
Yeah, the first time they went down,
Yeah.
they had no like torches to
Okay.
light or anything.
Well,
He gave her the matches to go like this and barely see anything. I was like, I don't know if I can get those.
Yeah, it was weird that
it's doing some weird.
It was
little
weird that the
things.
primary reason they went down there in the first place that they didn't ultimately like get that, but it's okay because
They
movie.
didn't think about that. No,
Sure.
that actually makes more sense that they just
But
lost their damn eyes.
both the girls were down there because Matthias had fallen and broken his back.
Right, but also if you can call for help, cell phone should be a
Right,
priority.
absolutely. So
Especially that's the
that
whole reason
was
why you went down there in the
yeah,
first
Yeah, instead of
place.
trying
like-
to get him up, like, oh, his back's broken. Well, why don't we spend time trying to lift him up here? Because, that makes sense. She just let him die and just
Yeah.
fucking moved on with
yeah,
the
pretty much.
Well, he did die.
Well, that's what I'm
He
saying.
did.
So what
He
was the
did
point?
die. He did die.
Yeah, that
In a very,
decapitation scene is
brutal-
fucking vicious.
brutal way.
That
Yeah.
that first scene with that vine going in the girl's leg, I cringed so much that like that whole thing was just like
It's
I didn't
yucky.
see it coming and it was
It is
disgusting.
icky. Yeah, it's gross.
Because it's
Okay.
like you can only imagine that the vines and the leaves have some sort of like, I just like, for me, for some reason, I imagine like going into your skin like they burn like alcohol.
Yeah.
I feel like they need to be really gritty, like just have like
That too.
sandpaper,
And they're
like tiny thorns,
little
scattered like a
yeah,
cactus almost.
yeah.
And it's just like shredding your
They
skin.
can just slowly feel like grow in.
Well, it's like you see that girl like digging at her
Yeah.
side like for like a while, and you're like, "Fuck, dude! Like, what is wrong with you?"
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
So here's a question for you guys. Did you need to see the origin of these vines and like what
No.
they're about
No.
explained more,
I
or are
just
you cool with
believe
like
that
just
they are
the way
just
it was?
It's a
weird.
movie that
Yeah.
you're expecting that to. Well, I thought it was cool how they'd be like, how the animals and insects stopped going there. Like they
Yeah.
figured that out. Like,
I think it would have been
seagulls for a long time.
like going into this not knowing a single fucking thing about it. It's fine.
Yeah.
Like that's at least in my opinion, like that's the
I
first time I
wasn't
watched it.
expecting
I
to
didn't
know
know what it was
anything.
about, and I remember I was like 13. I was like, this is fucking straight. Like,
Right.
yeah, and I was
That's
like,
why I
damn,
said
this is
like
fucked up.
popcorn horror movie. I mean,
Yeah.
I feel like when I saw this like in theaters, I was
Highly
just,
enjoyable.
I was
Definitely
like,
a
yeah,
hidden gem.
Absolutely, yeah. Like
This-
gore,
Yeah,
sex.
I would
some
say
nudity,
this
absolute
plays
violence.
This would play a great double feature with Cabin Fever.
Ooh, okay, all right, yeah.
makes
Actually,
sense.
yeah, good call. Good call. Apparently, a lot of people did not feel the same way though, because the budget for this movie was $25 million, only returned $17.5 million. In the
But that could be just
States,
marketing.
and $22.9 million worldwide. So it was considered at the time a box office bomb. I would say falsely so. This
Are we
should
able to
be-
get like the numbers now?
Yeah, like
Yeah,
total.
Because I don't
Okay,
give a
fine.
fuck if a movie's a box office bomb. That just means people are stupid.
People didn't go the
movie's
opening
not.
weekend.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, there's no doubt that people are stupid. I'm just reporting facts to you about what was
Stress
actually
cookie.
purchased at the time.
I don't like it.
Also, another thing that was interesting that I found. So ScottBSmith, the guy that wrote this book, was 2/3 of the way through the novel, finishing the novel, when he was contacted and saying like, "Hey, based on your success from A Simple Plan, we're already going to buy the film rights."
He was in A
this
Simple
book."
Plan.
No, he wrote not the band.
I'm just
A movie.
Is that the one with Billy Bob Thornton?
Yes.
Yeah,
That movie's awesome.
It's great.
Yeah,
It's
it's a good
fantastic.
movie.
It's a Sam Raimi movie. We talked about it
Isn't
earlier.
a simple plan.
I did
Um,
forget that it was the
I
same
wasn't. I was
Raimi.
probably peeing.
Do you know who the person on the other end of the phone was? Ben Stiller. Ben Stiller was the executive producer of this movie, and his production company produced The Ruins.
That's hilarious.
Wild,
On the other
right?
end of the phone. What phone?
Like the one that was like, hey, like,
Ben-
we want to buy the rights to this.
Ben Stiller
Yeah.
called this guy and said, "I want to buy the film rights to this book that you're not even done writing, by the way."
Oh.
I thought he meant that it was the voice of the
I
flower.
thought so,
2008, so
too.
he's
Okay,
coming off
I-
of like
I
a
thought he
one
meant
came
in the
pop.
movie.
Yeah.
No, okay, all right.
Oh,
no.
yeah.
You're not alone.
I'm making fun of. No, I
Big
was making
time,
fun of
Ben
you.
Stiller time.
Oh.
So
I said I thought he was the voice of. The
yeah, so
Vine.
Ben,
No,
Ben's,
not the Vine. He said they would send the phone. I was like, well, they never answered the phones. They tried their phones. They didn't have service.
Ben Stiller's production company, by the way, is called Red Hour Films. So they brought the production rights to this movie, and they ultimately. So Ben Stiller is an executive producer on this movie. which
Cool.
is kind of strange.
Hey, an original dude, comedy and horror, man. They
Yeah.
do fucking shake hands.
I actually looked through Ben Stiller's filmography before we recorded tonight, and I think this is actually the only horror movie that he's been involved in.
Yeah.
I would have thought he would have been involved in more. I know that he's kind of...
Maybe because he lost money.
He's been
He
a
was like,
director and a producer for a while, but I would have thought he would have done more horror if this was his first soiree into
He's always
horror.
been a PG-13 horror guy.
Yeah, yeah,
I don't even think he has an R-rated credit on his name, except this.
yeah.
But at least for comedy, like what R-rated horror movies he been in that he wasn't at least like a little tiny character in.
Tropic Thunder.
Yeah, that's true.
That
Well,
was,
that's it. And
right?
then that was it. Yeah.
Along Came Polly. No,
That's PG-13.
No, I know.
Yeah.
Well, anyway,
Yeah, that's
last
it.
thing I have to say. So the vines were inspired by, apparently this is what pumpkin vines look like. That's what they were inspired by.
Yeah.
And they shot the entire movie in Australia as opposed to Mexico.
Australia.
And apparently, despite the fact that it looked hot in every scene of the movie, it was winter in Australia. So during the day, it was warm. And at night, when the sun was going down, they had to spray all the actors down with water and olive oil to make it look like they were sweating because it was actually
Sexy
cold.
when they were spraying
Fucking
Stacy with
miserable.
olive oil.
Such an Andrew.
Jesus.
You're an animal.
You're an animal.
Couldn't
You're
help
out of
myself
control.
there.
Out of control.
Well, I mean, am I wrong?
I mean, she was very attractive. That's this
Until she wasn't.
Until she
until
was-
she wasn't.
She was cutting
Cut
herself
cut
to
off
pieces.
all of
Yeah.
her,
Yeah.
cut off all of her attractive parts.
I mean, she was
That
ruined.
That also happened. She ruined herself. Yeah. Guys, anything else about the ruins?
I like this movie. I think, like I said, it's a sneaky one.
It is sneaky, isn't
Yeah,
it? Yeah.
it's an underdog
You
movie.
forget about it.
Well, that's what I'm saying, and like I think it fits right in that like little era of like 2002 to like 2009,
It does.
like
yeah.
turbo gore, super ultra violent movies that were like able to be released. But this one, there's something about this one that really hits different. Like there's not a lot of body horror in that little time frame. And this is a body horror movie through and through. This is like a fucking hardcore body horror movie.
Absolutely. Yep.
And like that's why I said, I was like, dude, the only one I can think of off the top of my head from then was 2002, and that's Cabin Fever. Other than that, you got like torture porn, serial killers, this, that, and
Yeah.
everything. So
I mean, I what I would say about this movie is obviously I picked it. I love this movie. I would argue that out of the 2008 horror movies that we discussed, this is up towards the top. I mean, it's clearly not as good as Lake Mungo. It's clearly not as good as Let the Right One In.
The Strangers.
Clearly not as good as The Strangers. People say that Eden Lake is a great film. You have
Martyrs.
Cloverfield in there. I mean, I would say that this is like an underrated
It's better
gem.
than
Yeah.
Cloverfield.
Yeah, I mean, Cloverfield is. I like monster movies, so I like Cloverfield, but I like this movie
It's
better.
okay.
I think
I don't know.
I'd rewatch Ruins before I watched Cloverfield again.
this is yeah. Actually, you know what? Fuck it. This is a better movie.
Is
than
that what you're gonna
Cloverfield.
say?
Oh,
That's what I would
this is.
say.
I
and you're
definitely
like,
think this is a better movie than Cloverfield.
Is that the way to rate that?
Cloverfield has
Watch it
great
again.
moments in it that
I
are
feel like
scary,
that's
but
Yeah.
most of that movie annoys the shit out of me.
Everything in the tunnel with the smaller monsters in Cloverfield is
and
fantastic.
then what's her face when her head explodes?
Yes, her whole body explodes when she gets bit. That was
Dude,
Body
that freaked me out.
explosion.
that might
first
be
time I
the
saw it.
best PG-13 death of all time.
Yeah, it's up there.
She gets bitten by a huge
Gigantic
bug,
dude.
and then explodes.
She's like, I don't feel sad.
She blows up
And
like
then-
a balloon, and yeah, I know, Otis. Yeah, I know you don't like
No
it. It's okay.
flailing.
Anyway, Kat, Andrew, thoughts? Kat, you've been pretty quiet this whole time. Anything else you want to
I
say about
have?
this movie? Yeah.
Oh, no. I liked it. 2 thumbs way up. I think so. Because yeah, it resonates like deeper with me because of the whole Mexico connection, which is weird.
Yeah.
But it's also really simple. Like it's also there's only, really there's only
tiny cast.
yeah, it's only 5
And
characters.
it's
in
always
really
it's always
time.
scary when you put a fun place in your mind that you've been, that you go on vacation to something really scary.
Yeah.
It's obviously
Yeah.
really
So it hits a lot
terrifying.
different. Yeah.
Here's a situation I'll never be in, so that movie's not too scary because
You're never,
not
you're never
doing
going to
that.
Mexico?
I'm not doing what
Mexico's
they
awesome.
did in walking through some random fucking trail
Well, we did that and we came back alive.
We did
with
not,
a bunch of
we
people,
did
and it
not
was
do
vetted.
that. No,
This wasn't vetted. This
We
was,
were with a bunch of people and it wasn't through like, the woods
yes,
or anything
it,
like
it
that.
was it was planned. It was organized. We
I
had
know.
a bus.
wasn't some
Like,
German
it
and then you go to the
wasn't-
guy,
some
bring us
that was
here, and he's
"Hey,
like, no,
yeah.
no.
no,
Yeah.
no.
I'd
It
be
was
like,
not
why?
anywhere near.
No,
the
I guess we're
scenario.
going.
Okay, fair enough. So, guys,
Sorry, we're
I
not
have,
that
I
badass.
guess, for some additional content here. So it was my pick this week for the ruins. Whose pick is next week?
What's this guy's?
Andrew's.
Andy, my boy.
It's a me.
Any ideas on what you want to
It's
talk
a
about next
me.
week?
Something weird.
Okay. You don't have
Okay.
to tell me right now.
I
was
just
asking.
know it.
Oh, it's gonna
I'm
be
keep
so
with the
weird.
weird theme.
Okay.
I'm going
Yeah.
weird.
What's your movie, your idea thing?
Oh, so I thought it would be fun that if
Yeah,
we
I saw you texted me during the
we should make a
podcast.
wheel with
Yeah.
every year of like so you can start like what we'd start
Or
like
just-
1960.
I'm sure there's a way to generate this on
We
a
could do it,
phone.
but it'd be more fun if we had the wheel and we
There's a
spin
lot
the
of
wheel.
work. Dude, that's
Yeah.
arts and crafts.
Cat. building something.
Oh.
All right, so
Cat-
you
cat-
spin the wheel.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure I've had this idea before, but continue.
Go ahead.
Oh, really?
Yeah, yeah.
Yes.
You spin the wheel, you land on a year of horror, and then we all pick one movie from that year,
We
and we
haven't seen.
report back on it, but we can't have seen that movie before, and then we talk about it like kind of an open. Because chances are, you pick a movie that you haven't seen, but Matt's probably seen it, Mike, so we can have like good conversation on it.
All right.
Do it
That
like every
actually
couple
was
months.
not the idea I was talking about. Yes. Okay.
Ah.
Cool.
So now for next one, well, we can do it for next.
Well,
one.
if you want to make the wheel, I'll put it up on
I
the
mean, we
wall.
could also just
Make it
1980.
If we were ultimately to like do this every once in a while, that's a good idea to have the wheel.
Yeah, if we do it every couple months.
Yeah.
Time to spin the wheel. We do it live on the podcast.
You know what? We
Fucking
could-
Pat Sajak can show up for
I'll do
once.
this.
Yeah.
on
Pat
there.
Sajak, by the way,
We could
retired
reveal
from Wheel of
that
Fortune. Hear
I
about
could
that?
interchange what the thing is going to be.
Yeah, you can just get one of those dial that spin automatically and just
I can
change the
make
years
one.
out.
It's not hard.
It's got to be noisy.
I could do it.
It's got to be
It's all
very loud. It's got to be like the
It can be
Wheel
loud.
of Fortune wheel. I want it super
Yeah.
You
loud.
need a zip tie, nails. It's fine. I got it. It's fine. Done.
Be fun, but I want it to be like the size of like
Like
Yeah,
the run
okay.
of like the Jenny Gresham.
He wants to
Okay.
spin the actual
Okay.
Wheel of Fortune wheel. Yes.
I want it to take up half that wall.
That's not going to happen.
like
That's
10
gonna
feet in fucking
well,
diameter.
like it could be like the wheel from like Price is Right too.
yeah. Yeah, it takes
No.
like it
You
takes
have to
a
take, like, a
strong
lot of
person to
people
do
to
it.
And then someone falls.
It's
Remember the
only
way
gonna
You
be
have to
crushed by
invite
the wheel?
Craig over to spin
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. It's only gonna
Wearing
be
like a belly shirt and like
Yeah.
cut off jeans.
Yeah. Yeah, that's
Greg's
fine.
Wearing it.
Why?
Just so we can post a picture of him on the Instagram.
Like Craig and I are like the same size, correct? Like Craig and I are both big humans.
Yeah, but he's not on the podcast, so
Yeah, that's true.
We don't want to
Yeah.
put you on Instagram dressed like that.
Are you talking about big humans? Like we're the same size.
humans.
Yes.
Don't look Craig in his eyes though. Whatever you do.
Yes, exactly.
Don't look
Yes.
in the eye.
All right, I think we need to get out of here before we get into some trouble here. Well, guys, thanks for tuning in to another episode of America's Hometown Horror. My name is Mike. I'm your host. I've been joined by Kat, Matt, Andrew. Everybody, say good evening.
Good
Good evening.
Good evening. And you can find our show, by the way, on Apple, Google, Spotify, Amazon Music, iHeartRadio, Stitcher, Spreaker, wherever else you may get your podcast. Come on back next week for a good old family fun music movie discussion, not music discussion. Movie discussion about whatever movie we decide to choose between now and then. Thanks so much for listening, and good evening. Bye!
Peace.
Good night. I love
Smell
you.
ya. We love you. Yes. Hey everyone, it's Mike from America's Hometown Horror, and just wanted to say thank you again for listening to another episode of our show, because of course, we would be nothing without you listeners. If you are interested in more local Plymouth podcasts, I would highly recommend you check out some shows by our cohorts on the Inebriart Podcast Network. In addition to America's Hometown Horror, you can find the Inebriart Podcast, Bar Talk, Theme Park Legends, Retro Redoctopus, and Old Colony Cast. Head on over and give them a listen.